Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me in another video. So as you can tell based on the title, well today we're going to be talking about the Row Winter 2025 collection. And I did a poll because there's so much going on right now in terms of what to talk about. Of course I'm going to talk about the Row, but I did a poll on my community tab asking which collection I should cover next. But a lot of you guys wanted to see the Row, so we're going to talk about the Row today. So this is their Winter 2025 collection. And so we'll just talk about the major themes. So we've got 10 themes I just want to talk about with this collection, as well as we'll talk about handbags at the end. So we'll first start off with outerwear. Now, we had some very interesting iterations. So with almost every collection, we are gonna see some kind of trench, some kind of variation on the trench. I really enjoyed these shorter trenches. Of course, we had longer trenches as well. A very versatile piece. They can be dressed up, they can be dressed down. Very utilitarian, but very stylish. Every season, the Row brings on their own spin. It's a little bit more minimal, less visible buttons, tonal hardware to match the outfit. It's these subtle details that you may not notice right away. Another standout piece for me were these cocoon coats. Had this beautiful volume and structure to them, beautiful drop shoulders, rounded sleeves, creating this beautiful soft architectural drape, whatever kind of material, wool or cashmere this is. It just looks super plush and super soft. Love this high sculptural funnel neck collar. I think it just adds so much drama, but also the sense of protection at the same time. It's kind of this perfect balance of this monastic look that they're going for, but also feels futuristic, which to me is uniquely the Row. Another theme that we saw throughout this collection was experimental layering. The layering in this collection, it's not simply functional. This is a winter collection where layering is key. It's an intentional design strategy, and I think it adds depth and texture to a very minimal look. We see an assortment of these structured coats, over relaxed suiting, emphasizing this contrast between sharp tailoring and flowing fabrics. We're also seeing how they're very like tonal and monochromatic. We're seeing layering with like a single color palette or like subtle tonal variations for some of these looks. And I think it just creates this overall like very harmonious, fluid look. Another theme in this collection was this monastic aesthetic, very pared back silhouettes, very austere styling, this sense of restraint, this overall spiritual approach to simplicity. These head coverings tied very close to the face, reinforcing the sense of privacy. A lot of flowing silhouettes, flowing robes, creating this unbroken fluidity. Very modest necklines, covered skin. Something about these looks in this collection really reminds me of Dutch old master painting. If you think about like Vermeer, I don't necessarily think they're referencing this, but this is the kind of restraint I'm seeing with a lot of these like headpieces, these collar details. They just really remind me of this period. The paintings from that era have these like depictions of women in their private homes or wearing these head coverings. We also had a lot of really beautiful rich textures, cashmere wool, silk, creating this visual and I think tactile interest without pattern or much color. These soft touch fabrics I think create this sense of warmth and I think sensory calmness. The focus here is on the physical feel. Also just love this beautiful leather coat, again paired with these black tights in keeping with this uninterrupted theme. Also like the way the lighting is interacting with some of these looks. The textured blazer, suit skirt set with these speckled textured tights. That kind of like speckled texture is something we saw a lot in this collection, but it creates this very tonal and cohesive look. And also just another like thing I'm noticing here is we're getting these like shots of fashion through direct sunlight. It enhances the fabric, this like interplay with light and shadow. A lot of these looks by themselves would look quite structured, but with these images they feel a lot more like fleeting, like the way the light is like capturing the texture, and there's just this overall like hazy kind of feel to it. Another theme that I think we're seeing here is this theme of intimacy. None of the models from what I saw were wearing any shoes. They were wearing tights. Also for this collection, you're gonna see in the background the guests, some are standing, some are sitting, but for this collection there's no formal seating arrangement. Unlike how fashion shows, they have this like hierarchy of who gets to sit where, whereas the Row, they've removed that traditional seating hierarchy and the guests could sit, stand, some were actually sitting on the floor, but it just gave off more of this intimate but also casual vibe. Also the no phone policy was in effect. Again, very controversial, but I think this was a choice for them that was more so also about being present in the moment, to experience this and to have that in-person connection. Also, the photography with this show is very grainy. These photos look like they were shot on film from 30 years ago, and it does kind of give it this timeless appeal, like this is fashion that could have existed 30 years ago. This is fashion you can wear 30 years into the future. Now, when it came to coloring, it was no surprise. A lot of neutrals, a lot of blacks, charcoals, whites, creams, grays. I think there was a lot more exploration in terms of texture, materials, be it in the forms of like different kinds of wools, furs, or shearling. I'm not quite sure. The row typically likes to stick to their neutrals, but there was a couple looks where there were models that had these blue button-down shirts. One also thing I felt throughout this collection was this intentional imperfection. A lot of these models, they had this bob hairstyle that was a little bit disheveled with like the long bangs. Also with the styling, things didn't feel so like done up. I was always leaned into this asymmetry. Even just this one look with this like interesting like layering leather panels, and it looks like it's a coat styled over these leather croc or alligator panels. The models are not wearing makeup or like very minimal makeup. And I think about a lot of these like very heritage legacy brands that do quiet luxury, or even the brands that have gone in this direction towards something that was like more quiet luxury. You can see how there is this like desire to make like perfect like tailor, and it's very much about the look. But I think with this collection, and I think the row, what they always get, it's not about how something looks, it's more about how the clothing feels, like the physical touch, that sensory touch. I remember seeing this like image of like the new Gucci collection, and it was like very stark and minimal, and it was just like, wow, how stark it felt. It had the aesthetics in terms of like the color being like black and, you know, tailoring, but it just didn't have that tactile quality and almost like this kind of like imperfection that I think the row does so well. And then I also thought there were these beautiful accents throughout the collection. We've talked about the headpieces. Of course, we didn't see any shoes, but again, this theme of like the black tights, and a lot of these models, it looked like they had these tights draped over them, or they could have potentially just been like scarves that looked like this. And we'll talk about handbags in just a moment here, but even just this look too here, the sweater, it's cinched in this like asymmetric way with this gold medallion, creating this like really unique focal point. Here again, this model, she's wearing this black tailored coat, very structured, and it's cinched in at the waist with this very delicate tie, and looks like it could be the shape of a heart. And we have this model wearing this, it looks like a necklace with these like crystal or like glass pendants at the end. Now, when it came to handbags, for the first style that we saw and look to here, it's this crescent shape style with this longer shoulder strap. Depending on how you like a bag to sit on you, it could potentially be worn as a crossbody. Personally, I just like a longer shoulder strap in general. While the trend, I think, has been sort of those like Y2K higher strapped handbags, personally for me, unless it's summer where I live, I just prefer more of a generous strap just because I like to wear layers. Also has this texture woven effect. The next bag style that we saw was the sleek pouch, sizable enough to fit a notebook or tablet. And then the third bag style that we saw was, to me, this looks like it's a new iteration on the Row India, at least from the side, and more of an east-west proportion. Again, it could be based on the angle. And then we also have this mini top handle bag with, it's quite a small bag, and the bottom it curves upwards, so that's a cute style. And then for this final bag, it was very unique. It's made of some kind of, I don't know if this is like wool, cashmere, beautiful textured fabric, and then it has this beautiful layered draped effect. A very unique style. Styling is just absolute perfection in this collection. So overall, I did really enjoy this collection. Whenever I see a collection from the Row, I'm just reminded of why the Row is kind of at the top of this kind of style of luxury minimalism. Of course, there have been so many brands that have tried to imitate this style, specifically this style of minimalism that the Row is really known for. I read this article, actually a couple people recommended it to me, from Rachel Tashian, and she talks about how there are these, quote, what she describes as rodents that attempt to copy the Row, but it's just not quite there. They don't quite get it. And this is a lot of brands. It's not just like COS, it's even like bigger brands. Like for instance, this morning on my For You page on YouTube, I saw this video from Dior advertising the Dior DiGiorno bag. Here we have this model, this actress. She's wearing this dress, and it's styled in an almost identical way as the Row's Fall 2024 collection. And this is a look from Dior's Spring 2025 collection. Of course, the Row did not invent the asymmetric dress or the leather gloves, but it's very glaring when you see one look, Fall 2024, and then the next season later, Spring 2025, Dior do something that is almost the same. What is happening here is a lot of brands are trying to get the quote look. They're trying to nail this aesthetic, but I think the difference with the row and what the row focuses on, and it's very clear to me looking at this collection versus the collections that I've seen at Fashion Month. It's very clear to me with this collection, that tactile, that physical feel, like the rose cashmere. If you've ever touched the Margot-like bags and then touch a Margot bag, it's very different. And I'm talking about these Margot-looking bags from these very high-level luxury brands. Like, the touch just isn't there. For this collection, we saw the richness of materials. It's very sensory, and of course there is that restraint there, but this restraint can coexist with the richness of materials. So yeah, that's my video for today. Thank you so much for joining me in another one, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!